right, thanks for staying with us. The debate on former governors now serving as senators and ministers receiving double or maybe in some cases triple pay will not end anytime soon.
Absolutely.
The Federal High Court in Lagos has ruled that the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has sufficient interest to bring its suit to stop former governors and now serving senators and ministers from receiving double pay and life pensions.
Well, to seek recovery and absolutely, and they're expected to seek recovery, and that is by moving the federal government through the Attorney General of the Federation to prosecute this case and then seek a 40 billion naira refund to the purse of the governments. We have with us in the studio Executive Director, SERAP, Adetokunbo Mumuni, to share his views on this and how they've been moving on the case so far. Thank you for joining us, and good morning.
It's a pleasure, good morning.
Yeah. You wrote a letter, SERAP wrote a letter to the Attorney General of the Federation
Yes.
Around July last year. Yes, to act on this, but no response.
And that was the reason why we had to go to court. Because once let's situate it properly.
Okay.
When you see that a public official that should act in the exercise of constitutional or legal duties is failing to act, the next thing that should happen is that you go to court to seek an order of mandamus to compel that public officer to act in that regard. And the rules of procedure is that for you to seek an order of mandamus, you have to seek leave of the court before the substantive argument can proceed. That is what we have done, and that is what the permission the court had given us.
And now that you have that permission from the Federal High Court, what next? Really, in reality, we know that at the time, was it about 2 years ago, but just before the end of the last administration, some states, if not all of them, had actually, the state assemblies had, passed into law, what's that word again? The life retirement and all kinds of benefits for the governors and what have you. Have they really, at least those who are now senators, ministers, and the rest of them, the Fasholas of this world,
Saraki,
Godzilla,
there are so many.
So many of them.
So many.
Are you saying that those people have been receiving double payment and life pensions since they left their former positions to their present positions? Because only Ngige has come out to say, I have not received a dime.
Well, Saraki said he wrote a letter to the assembly to stop it and then fire me and fire
you see, we did our own discrete investigation, and we discovered that in all the states where all these laws exist, you know, the more or less is a cajoling of the House of Assembly members to pass such law. We have it in Kanu, we have it in Akwa Ibom, we have it in Lagos, we have it in Zamfara, we have it in Gombe. You understand? We have it in River State. So the position that we take is, it is not only illegal, it is even unethical for you to use perform public function in a dishonorable, in an improper and irregular manner. You see, when you are a public officer, it is not only important that you observe what I call good conscience. You understand? You must also be having the feeling that there are people in your state who have nothing of such.
Act in public interest.
Yes. You see, when you say you are a former governor and the economy is so terribly bad, it doesn't speak well of you to now decide to ensure the passage of a law that will give you monumental and unquantifiable benefit when the average Nigerians cannot even afford 3 square meters.
Yeah, that's a question of morality. But when the state assemblies enacted these laws, I mean, you use the word cajole, meaning that they could have envisaged that there was a possibility that the governors would eventually, become ministers or still hold other public offices. Are you saying that the law that they put in place actually envisaged this or did not, and so we have this problem on our hands? So how do we now solve that problem?
The way to go, is like, as we have called on the Attorney General of the Federation.
Yes.
It's supposed to be the law of the state. You see, let us think first about the original purpose of a pension in the first place. The original purpose of a pension is to a civil servant that will have served the nation for about 35 years, who will have expended his youth life
and all his energy and everything
in the service
even
of the
everything,
nation.
yes.
So by the time the man is leaving, he is more or less physically handicapped. He cannot run as he used to run. He cannot walk as he used to walk. So that is the idea, the pristine idea of a pension. Now you are our governor for 8 years. You won't have served for 30 years. You won't have served for more than maximum 8 years. And now you engineered the making of a law. You see, Nigeria is not only a nation that says, I want to operate by democracy. Nigeria is also an important member of the international community. You see, Nigeria is a state party and signatory to the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Section 19 of that, Article 19 of that convention says, entrusted public powers shall not be abused. You see, we have seen the abuse of entrusted public powers in this case for personal and inordinate benefits.
But would you say that is the former ex-governors really that have abused their powers? Because that's why we have separation of powers. The House of Assembly in a particular state is supposed to be the legislative body. So why would you be like a puppet, really, to the executive?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The engineers of those laws were the executive governor of the federal state that we're talking about. Like I said, cajoled the House of Assembly, and they eventually ratified. You know, the law is not made by the state legislatures alone. You need the assent of the governor or the president if it's a federal matter. Now, between the legislatures and the executive, we now have in existence such dangerous, economically terrible laws. That's what I call them.
Can we safely say that, you know, in making that law or the laws regarding this particular issue, that all state assembly members, in many cases, over 100 of them in the different states, did not have the wisdom to foresee, you know, what the outcome could be? Did they not ask the question, okay, what if after he's governor, he becomes minister tomorrow? What happens then?
You see, what that is...
Are you saying that the state assemblies were all pocketed by the different state governors?
Let me use the common pedestrian logic. You cannot... we have not seen it in Nigeria that any state assembly acts truly independently and uninfluenced by the governors, unless we want to pretend and play the ostrich. The pedestrian stories around is that the governors are the dominant force in any state politics.
Okay, so it brings me to this question now, because you are calling for the laws to be abolished in the various states. But then, who should be the one in charge of that? Because these states assemblies have been seen to be compromised.
Good. We will say, let the Attorney General go to court, challenge the legality or the propriety of otherwise of these laws. Let us settle that first. You see, the federal government says harm for probity, harm for integrity, and there is somebody that is the chief law officer of the federation. He should perform his function as a defender of public interest. That's the point we are making. You see, we cannot continue to do things the same way and be expecting different results.
In addition to, you know, the call for the Attorney General of the Federation to actually take action on this, you're asking for a refund of about 40 billion naira that has been paid out so far.
Yes. That to us will do a lot of these states who are unable or incapable of paying the entitlement, salaries of workers, pensioners' entitlement, will do them a lot of good. The money will go back to the various states where they are collected. These people are not poor people. That's the point. You see, I even consider it to say, I think for you to have the opportunity of serving as the governor of the state is sufficient and enough privilege for you.
Okay, so your SERAP also is also saying that the current code of conduct for public officials act in the country is outdated and somehow inconsistent, that it should be looked into?
No, what we say is that when a legislation has been passed long time ago, and you now see realities, current realities, that people are exploiting, the best thing is to review the law to make it contemporary. That's the point we are making.
So would you suggest maybe periodic review of such law then to suit
the current reality? That would be part of the, there is a body in Nigeria known as the Law Reform Commission.
Yes.
We have it in Lagos State, we have it in the Federation. That should be their work. And that should be the work of our legislators at the National Assembly.
So how would your prayer at the court affect, say, for example, an Ahmed Bola Tinubu is no longer, he's not holding any office. He was governor for 8 years. Would he be entitled, for example, to these, you know, life pensions and what have you?
Thank you very much. Once you are not a current public server, you will not be guilty of
double pay.
Exactly, because double pay is you are receiving salaries
for what you did
as a senator now, as a minister now. You are also receiving from our purse such benefit. That is the point. Yes.
Okay, because I was about to mention that the federal government just doled out about 280 million naira to because they are not serving a passage.
That may be rationalizable. Okay. But I still say
that amount.
That the amount, the people that you are giving these benefits are not poor people.
And it brings to mind really the amount civil servants are earning in
the
country.
You say
those that are spending their lives.
18,000 naira.
Yeah, but when we say they are not poor people, aren't we shooting ourselves in the foot when we say they are not poor people? Are we saying that we do know that it is obvious that they have put their hands or their fingers in the public till and so have, you know, helped themselves?
Okay, good.
Now, are we not, you know, tackling the problem from the surface instead of really dealing with the real issue? There is a problem of lack of security when it comes to, after I have served my fatherland, after I've given my youth, my strength and everything, there's really nothing to look forward to. Where should we begin to solve that problem so that every public officer who serves, whether for 8 years or for whatever number of years, knows that at the end of the day, there's something for him so that he can take care of himself and, of course, his dependents.
Just like the civil servants?
Absolutely.
Good. Let me answer your question by this retort. You see, at every point in time when the Nigerian Constitution is supposed to be amended, we normally put in a position paper saying the idea of a dichotomy between the socio-economic rights of Nigerians and the civil and political rights of Nigeria is outdated and outmoded. Let us tackle the issue of the wants and needs of Nigeria from the source, so that sufficient infrastructure, health, education will be available for all Nigerians, and it will also affect public servants. So that the idea that they will have to take care of themselves from what we do not give them will not arise.
In the first place.
Yes, that's the point.
Okay. We'll have to leave it there. Abdul Mumuni, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure being
SERAP, thank you so much. Of course, we'll still be looking at this down the line, definitely.